and to our guests from... Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and to our guests from the United States, a very good evening to you all. We are delighted that you can join us at this special event, which is held virtually via WebEx and Zoom, and directly in person at Labuan Bajo, East Nusa Tenggara. My name is Dian Rosa, your Master of Ceremony for today. Before the event is officially opened, allow me to make two announcements. Firstly, for guests joining via WebEx, please ensure that the format of your screen name is name_your institution. Secondly, this event will be held fully in English, but simultaneous interpretation in Bahasa Indonesia is provided. Bagi Bapak dan Ibu dari Kementerian SDM yang ingin menggunakan fitur penerjemahan, silakan klik gambar bola dunia di bagian bawah layar Anda dan pilih opsi Bahasa Indonesia. Thank you, and we will shortly be opening the in-person event at Labuan Bajo. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this event, kindly pay attention to the following safety briefing announcement from the hotel, which will be delivered by Mr. Jaka. Mr. Jaka, the time is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to La Prima Hotel Labuan Bajo, Flores, East Nusa Tenggara. Before we start our meeting, I would like to share some information about safety briefing in our hotel because your safety is our priority. Here are the standard safety briefing in case of an emergency. Ladies and gentlemen, at the moment, we are in Komodo Ballroom, which is located on the front yard of La Prima Hotel. Komodo Ballroom consists of 2 floors, and the first floor for dining room and the second floor for meeting room. Komodo Ballroom is equipped with 2 entrances and 2 emergency doors, which is located on my left-hand side. Ladies and gentlemen, the lavatory in front of me for this building, and at the moment, we have no plan to conduct the alarm testing or fire evacuation drill. So if we are an emergency, please stay calm, and if there is a command, please leave the room quietly, and our officer will direct you to the nearest exit, which is the main doors, to the assembly point, which is located in the front yard of Komodo Ballroom. Shall you leave the room? In case of emergency, please prioritize the elderly and pregnant women. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Have a truthful day. Thank you.
The transformation to net zero emission is our shared commitment that we expect to fulfill by 2060 at the latest. We are preparing a roadmap to energy neutrality from 2021 to 2060 with a number of key strategies. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of the Republic of Indonesia remain committed to achieving the net zero emission target by 2060. The achievement of these targets, of course, will require human resources who are capable of supporting it. The form of human resource development may be through study assignment both domestically and abroad for the energy and mineral resources sector. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources continues to develop the competence of its human resources through several programs. Among others are training, seminar, on-the-job training, coaching, and study assignment. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has determined the topics of the study assignment, one of which is designed to support the roadmap towards net zero emission in Indonesia. Here is the business process of overseas study assignment from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. It starts with administrative and interview selection at Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources and universities. Subsequent stage is the issuance of decision by the State Secretariat, and based on the decision, exit permit documents will be arranged at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As the final stage, an application of visa will be arranged at the embassy. Following the completion, therefore, the relevant employees will start their learning activities.
Traffics, pollutions, high temperature, are the things I face every day, everywhere, and keep getting worse. Fossil fuels still dominates the energy sources in the world. I dare to hope that everyone to fight our circumstances and of course, towards cleaner energy sources. It is possible with our efforts, our collective efforts. Our young generations will be the future decision makers. It is our priorities and responsibilities to develop their skills through several activities in contributing towards energy transitions and climate change. It's our turn. Let's take action.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests today, both joining on-site here at Labuan Bajo, East Nusa Tenggara, and virtually via WebEx and Zoom from around the world and all across Indonesia. To start today's event, we will first listen to the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. The national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Distinguished guests, a very warm welcome once again to today's event, Embassies Forum, dedicated human capital preparation and support for Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources officers towards Indonesia Net Zero Emission 2060. Please note, this event follows COVID protocols and all attendees have received their COVID vaccinations. My name is Diane Rosa, and I am your Master of Ceremony for today. I would like to greet our honorable speakers and guests, Mr. Ego Shahrial, Secretary General, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Mr. Yudo Priyadi, Strategic Planning Expert Staff to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources and Chairman of the G20 Energy Transition Working Group, Mr. Prahoro Nurcahyo, Head of Human Resources Development Agency, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Mr. Dadan Kusdiana, Director General of New Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, distinguished representatives of embassies, both joining in person here at the beautiful Labuan Bajo and also virtually, distinguished representatives of leading universities from neighboring countries and around the world joining via WebEx from various time zones, representatives from state-owned electricity company, PLN, and last but not least, officers of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources from all across Indonesia joining via Zoom webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, this special event, hosted by the Human Resources Development Agency, is aimed to gather interest from embassies and top universities from their respective countries to become a partner of the Indonesian Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in strengthening the capacity of its officers through world-class education in renewable energy. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources has dedicated funding to enable its officers nationwide to pursue higher education in priority areas of renewable energy. And this is paramount to ensure that the ministry is equipped with the right mindset, values, skills, and experiences in order to implement their duties effectively and play an important role in Indonesia's strive towards net zero emission by 2060 or sooner. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite the Honorable Mr. Ego Shahrial, Secretary General of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, to provide welcoming remarks virtually and to officially open this event on behalf of His Excellency Arifin Tasrif, Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources.
Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am pleased to welcome you all at the Embassies Forum 2022 with the theme Dedicating Human Resources Preparation and Support for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources Officers towards Indonesia Net Zero Emission 2060. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, with the main theme of the G20, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Indonesia has set out three main pillars for its G20 presidency: global health architecture, digital transformation, and sustainable energy transition. The G20 energy transition focused on three priorities issues, namely securing energy accessibility, smart and clean energy technology scaling up, and advancing energy financing. Indonesia emphasizes that energy transition effort must acknowledge a variety of options and utilize the widest variety of technologies and fuel. This will accommodate countries' respective capabilities and circumstances while promoting inclusive approach of people-centered energy transition. We acknowledge that the people-centered clean energy transition shows the essential to prepare human resources for a successful of energy system transformation at the pace and scale required to deliver global ambition for climate change mitigation. As the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, takes the policy lead and authority in energy sector, its human resources need to be equipped with the right mindset, knowledge, skill sets, experiences which could accelerate energy transition in Indonesia. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources officials need to get ready today in order to fulfill their role in strive towards the net zero emission by 2060 or sooner if there is international support. We definitely support this Embassies Forum as the chance for those who seek the opportunities to elaborate their knowledge, abilities, and specific skill through overseas study so that they can carry out tasks and function that support the organization optimally. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as this Embassies Forum is held in Labuan Bajo, East Nusa Tenggara, one of tourism destination in Indonesia, I would like to invite you to enjoy the beautiful scenery of Labuan Bajo. Do not hesitate to visit islands surrounding Labuan Bajo. Without further ado, to all speakers, all participants, and invited delegates, I wish you all have a successful Embassies Forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ego Shahriar, for the welcoming remarks and for officially opening the event on behalf of Minister Arifin Tasrif. Let's give ourselves a big round of applause. To start today's lineup of presentations, I would now like to invite our moderator to the stage. Our moderator is the founder and executive director of Cerah, an Indonesian nonprofit organization working to advance the energy transition agenda in Indonesia. She holds a master's degree in climate change from the Australian National University and has 15 years of experience working in climate and energy as a researcher, a policy analyst, and communications and campaign strategist. With great pleasure, I welcome Ms. Adityani Putri.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests of the Embassies Forum, to those joining us on site and to those joining us virtually via WebEx and Zoom, a very good morning to all of you, as well as a good afternoon wherever you are. I'm very honored to be your moderator for today's main session. Today we shall learn more about Indonesia's pathway to net zero emissions, especially in the energy sector, as part of Indonesia's commitment in the global fight against the climate crisis. As we all know, Indonesia has set a target of reaching net zero emissions by 2060 or sooner, and there is a lot that needs to be done in order to ensure that this target is reached. Now, today we also hope to understand the needs and explore ways and potential collaborations to support the human capital development of the government institution that is standing in the front line of decarbonizing one of the world's largest economies, as well as one of the world's largest energy producer and consumer. Why is this important? Because the young government officers of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of today will lead the energy transition of tomorrow. And they will be the key to the successful implementation of Indonesia's ambitious net zero emissions plan in the energy sector. We have a series of presentations ahead of us to be delivered by distinguished speakers from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, and followed by an extended Q&A session. But first, let us watch a video about Indonesia's energy sector and its goal to reaching net zero emission by 2060 or sooner.
Indonesia, with its diverse culture and natural resources, has made this country able to stand on its own feet. Even though still struggling, its rich nature gives the energy to stand strong again. The power of energy in Indonesia is spread in all corners of the country, starting from oil and gas, coal mineral, electricity, renewable energy, to geology. After 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, a feeling of despair can truly be felt, but everything must go back to normal. Energy retainers continue to be committed to meeting domestic energy needs amid the pandemic. Investment of $282 billion or 107% from 2020. Non-tax revenue reached 189.2 trillion rupiah, or about 156% from the target of 121.2 trillion rupiah. Energy subsidy amounting 131.5 trillion rupiah consists of subsidies for fuel and LPG of 83.7 trillion rupiah and electricity of 47.8 trillion rupiah. The transfer management of the Rotan block, the largest oil block in Indonesia, from PT Chevron Pacific Indonesia to Pertamina. Ease of investment and incentives to encourage the achievement of the oil production target of 1 million barrels of oil per day and 12 billion standard cubic feet per day of natural gas by 2030. The gas utilization for domestic use in 2021 is 66% higher than the portion for export. 799,000 households are connected to the city gas network. 331 locations for one price of Indonesian fuel. 98.24% coal production from the target of 625 million tons. The realization of mineral refining facilities amounting to 21 smelters. Reclamation of ex-mining land reaches 8,539 hectares from the target of 7,025 hectares. The development of the volcano monitoring system in 4 locations. The implementation of geological mapping of volcanoes in 5 locations. Mapping the earthquake-prone disaster areas in one map. Mapping the ground movement vulnerability zones for 5 locations. The installation of a landslide early warning system in 3 locations. Installed power plant capacity of 74 gigawatt. Installed capacity of 11.152 megawatt new renewable energy power plant. Realization of the new renewable energy mix of 13.5%, an increase from the target of 12.9%. (99.62% electrification ratio for villages). Utilization of domestic biodiesel of 9.3 million kiloliter with foreign exchange savings of 66.54 trillion rupiah. Lowering carbon dioxide emissions by 69.5 million tons. 267 general electric vehicle charging stations in 224 locations. 266 units general electric vehicle battery exchange stations in 265 locations. The conversion of 100 fuel motorcycles to electric motorcycle conversions.
Di Indonesia sendiri sebetulnya kita memiliki kekuatan yang sangat besar mengenai renewable energy ini. 418 gigawatt, baik itu dari hydropower, geothermal, bio, solar panel, biofuel, arus bawah laut, dan yang lain-lainnya. Potensinya sangat besar sekali.
Currently, the government is committed to reaching the fulfillment of net zero emissions or NZE by 2060 or sooner. Therefore, innovative collaborations must be strengthened to achieve the target. It has great potential, making energy a subject that must be managed carefully to fulfill the needs of the nation. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources is here to ensure that energy management in Indonesia is available, affordable, sustainable, and beneficial for the prosperity of the Indonesian people.
A round of applause, please. That was a very insightful video. Some remarkable achievements were reached by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in spite of the massive challenges posed by the economic situation and the energy prices condition during the pandemic. It's admirable that the ministry has managed to put the fundamentals of energy transition in place, including some of the things that were mentioned in the video, like the big rollout of electric vehicle charging stations and the continued push for renewable energy uptake in the power mix. So that was impressive indeed. Now, this leadership in energy transition is also reflected in Indonesia's role as this year's G20 presidency. As we all know, energy transition is one of the 3 priority agendas set by the Indonesian government as the G20 presidency. Now, the first speaker of today will certainly be able to provide plenty of insight into the ongoing process, into the ongoing talks. In fact, we are very fortunate to be able to catch him right before the Energy Transition Working Group meetings that will proceed in the following days. Please allow me to introduce him first before I invite him to the stage. Our first speaker today has obtained his Bachelor of Engineering from the Department of Chemical Engineering at the Bandung Institute of Technology. He graduated in Masters of Science in Management of Technology from the Sloan School of Management, Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, USA. Prior to joining the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, he has enjoyed a long-standing career at the National Development Planning Agency, covering planning, risk analysis, inspecting, monitoring, and evaluation for investment, capital market, and public-private partnerships, as well as regional development. He joined the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in 2017 as Senior Advisor for Strategic Planning and currently serves as the Chairman of the G20 Energy Transition Working Group. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inviting Mr. Yudo Dwinanda Priyadi to the stage.
Sorry, technology briefing first. Pak Ego virtually and Pak Prahoro and all of his team, very good team, very solid team. All my ministry colleagues, MSD MEMR, distinguished representatives from countries, partners, embassies, and global universities. Thank you for coming and joining this good forum. Distinguished participants, greetings to you all. Okay, thank you. So we are about beginning the second Energy Transition Working Group in Meruara Hotel, close to here, and some guests stay also in this hotel as well, Prima. G20 Indonesian Presidency addressed the main theme, just like Pak Ego, our Secretary General said, that recover together, recover stronger. And he has set 3 pillars, namely global health architecture, digital economic transformation, and sustainable energy transition. The pillar for energy transition is held under Energy Transitions Working Group, ETWG. So there are three pillars. This is the focus of Indonesian presidency this year 2022. I think number one, we want to get a good solution about kind of vaccine. Secondly, about the growing digital economy. And last one, very important things about setting a global movement for energy transition. Allow me to present on energy transition and G20 presidency. Briefly speaking, on energy and economics, G20 is the club of global powerhouse, comprising 85% global GDP, 75% global trade, 81% global emission coming from energy sector. That's the fact. And 77% global energy consumption. Ms. Titri mentioned that G20 is the largest producer and the largest consumer. Yes, we are. International community is facing critical times in energy transition and climate agenda. Since COP27, countries have agreed a stronger global commitment to maintain global temperature rise well below 2 degrees centigrade and pursue effort to limit. This is, I think, the game changer, to pursue effort to limit it up to 1.5 degrees centigrade. This emission also addressed in G20 2021 last year. To achieve sustainable recovery in the global post-pandemic economy, we need larger attention to scaling up clean power generation as well as energy efficiency. Global communities also find urgencies to accelerate progress on global target on energy access and mainly clean cooking and electricity access after we face setback due to the last 2 years global pandemic. We also realized the importance of just people-centered energy transitions in preparing the readiness on job shifting, human resources transformation, and broader socio-economic impacts following the transition towards sustainable energy. This is the basic concept of just energy transition. Financial resources and instruments are required to support full-scale energy transition. Unless it is sufficient, the transition will not be done smoothly. To reach net zero emission by 2050, IRENA forecasts that we need to triple annual investment to US $4.4 trillion to deploy clean energy. We also need to firm up and collect commitment from developed countries to solve about $100 billion a year funding to deal with climate change. This is one of the legacy from the COP26 Glasgow. In this presidency year, Indonesia is keen to address such thematic issues on sustainable access and transition in archipelagic and island states. Yes, Indonesia is the largest archipelago on earth. That's why we are very keen to bring the issue of energy access, technology, and finance also in archipelagic and island states. This all will amplify climate ambition while pursuing economic recovery in the context of archipelagic and island countries. In this significance, G20 holds more responsibility as the global powerhouse. Speaking about G20 and global renewables, in solar power, 3/4 of G20 countries is in the global top 20 solar power for total installed capacity. On wind power, another example, more than half of G20 countries in the global top 20 wind power for total installed capacity. On hydropower, again, more than half of G20 countries in the global top 20 hydropower for total installed capacity. In brief profile, let me share why as G20 we often express energy transitions in plural form with S. This is something interesting in G20 and Energy Transitions Forum, which are featured by common consensus and legacies since 2018 Argentine presidency. The working group or forum named Energy Transitions with S was firstly adopted, replacing more common energy working group. Used in G20 Sherpa Track was founded in 2009. Energy transitions key phrase is noted to acknowledge the diversity of pathways towards sustainable energy transition and support G20 collective commitment to promote the widest variety of energy sources, options, and technologies. We in G20 call it all views, all technologies approach to ambitiously reduce greenhouse gas emission. Therefore, the pillar of sustainable energy transition will match our position as presidency, which will begin the first of our consecutive G20 presidencies from emerging market. We are the first in a row, for another 3 developing countries. India 2023, Brazil 2024, and South Africa 2025. This is continue our consistency in coloring energy transition with just transition, energy access, and the whole agenda 2030 importance. The energy transition pillars through energy transition working group will address 3 priority issues with the main key words on first, accessibility, second, technology, third, financing. Here they are with their full taglines. The first priority is securing energy accessibility. The second one, scaling up smart and clean energy technology. And the third priority is advancing energy financing. So 3 keywords, again, access, technology, and financing. We are pretty much focusing on these 3 topics. Through those 3 priorities, ETWG aims to produce key deliverables on G20 energy transition, ministerial communique, and its annexes. The content of the key deliverables is also expected to strengthen the presidency flagship document in the G20 summit, 15 to 16 November this year, which is G20 comprehensive exit strategy to support recovery. Again, our main theme is recover together, recover stronger. We also organize virtual or webinar series, as many as 13 virtual webinars as part of set event of Energy Transition Working Group G20 2022. This is the most extensive side event ever, I think, in G20 Energy Transition Working Group. I've been following since Argentina, and Indonesia have a very different approach. Actually, we use this side event to build up our consensus. That's why we are partnering with a prominent international organization. This virtual webinar series aim to advance actual and emerging issues in energy transitions, as well as absorbing input and stock takes for key developers ETWG. The G20 webinar series advance the issue on energy access, including access and transition in archipelagic states, just energy transition, energy security, very hot topic right now, energy security, new and renewable technologies, carbon capture, energy transition financing, prerequisite to implement energy transition, and of course, the role of gas in the periods of transition. More than half of the webinars are about topics around renewable energy. 13 virtual webinar series are co-organized with international organizations such as IEA, AREA, UNSCAP, C4All, IGA, International Geothermal Association, IRENA, IAEA, SAM, UNIDO, and of course OECD. In total, Indonesia requires about 1.17 trillion US dollar, about 29 billion US dollar per year, so very, very high number, to accomplish energy transition to new and renewable energy in power generation sector. That's only speaking about background, that why we are focusing on technology and financing to accelerate energy transition. From this plan, you see here in the slide, that this is the first year that all G20 members already issued or launched their own net zero emission pledge. So what we call here, starting this year, beginning year of implementation. All of us have planned respectively, and then we want to accelerate energy transition and it's very good momentum for us to Indonesia we call it gaspol. What is gaspol? Press your accelerator, your car, and then moving faster. Again, we have our own plan, and 2050 many countries, 2053 Turkey, I guess, and then 2060 or sooner Indonesia, maximum 2060 China, India maximum 2070. So again, this is a very good momentum for us to press, to drive faster, and we have a plan, Indonesia's energy transition roadmap towards net zero emission. This is, I should say, this is a living document, but this is the latest version. We have been refining this, deepening, deep dive, the discussion with the support of IEA, and then with support of the Mentari Pak David, thank you, and then with Denmark, so we are every day, I think every single week we are discussing about the model energy. Our energy model is at their busiest time actually, refining this calculation. But you can see, you can. This is the plan, too small probably, but I think we share the slide with you all. And let me give you a simple chart. From this plan, we can find that to achieve net zero emission by 2060 in power sector, the most dominant sector, the yellow one, will come from solar energy. Hydro will be the second largest, followed by wind, natural gas, nuclear, and geothermal. The interesting mixture of energy projection toward net zero emission comes with several critical considerations. First, Indonesia has tasked to capitalize maximum higher rate of economic growth. I think this is a prerequisite, maintain our economic growth. And we are very lucky actually. In the first quarter of this year, Indonesia already grew 5.1%. I would say that Indonesia is probably including in the top performer globally right now. Speaking about economic growth, our President Joko Widodo mentioned, I think in the last 2 weeks, he mentioned about 40 countries already entering the economic crisis, and another 20, the total in 60 countries, having trouble and try to avoiding try to avoiding to fall down into crisis. So this is a very serious one. Financial crisis is very serious. 60 countries, even 40 countries is a big number. And that's why the Secretary General of UN Secretary General have initiated to set up Global Crisis Response Group, GCRG. And President Joko Widodo is one of the of the member of GCRG. And so we are now in another track to try to do something concrete to avoid more deeper energy crisis, and then a serious one. Another one is food crisis, and then last one is financial crisis. I think this is the time for us. Very good momentum to work hand in hand, avoiding this global crisis. Secondly, energy accessibility, affordability, and security must be well addressed when we are talking about energy transition. Third, we must implement our energy transition through just and equitable approaches. There always be, unfortunate people, marginal people. There will be remote people that are living in remote areas. We have to think about them. We have to think to provide access of energy to those people, globally. And as just energy transition is beyond economic opportunity and strongly relates to human resources transformation for jobs, we must ensure that clean and renewables development will potentially create ample decent green jobs, sustain green economic growth in compensating the transforming sector. In short, I would say, speaking about G20, this is a very, very good opportunity for all of us to strengthen, to work together stronger than before. Number one, because we have there's difficulty in energy market right now, and secondly, another crisis, food, and then financial. And this is the good momentum for us to work together hand in hand again, to help each other in implementing energy transition. Energy transition is way forward the traditional boundary of energy sector. Yeah. Speaking about last week, I met the poverty team from the Vice President office, and then we are talking about just transition. Speaking about new investment, we have talking many times about that. But just transition, how should we provide access? How should we protect sort of social safety net during transition? How we manage the transforming sector like natural resources sector, mining sector? How we deal with several provinces that have a high dependency on mining sector? This is something that we need to address in just energy transition. Again, we need a more stronger, more than cooperation. Let's call it, for time being, partnership. Thank you.
Please join me in giving Pa Yudo a hand of applause. Thank you, Mr. Yudo, for your very insightful presentation. You may now return to your seat. We have now arrived at our second presentation, where we will learn more about the net zero emissions plan, but more importantly about the needs for human capital development, and what the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources is striving to do in supporting the capacity building and the development of its officers at the front line of the implementation of this energy transitions with S, as mentioned by Mr. Yudo, energy transitions plan. This speaker needs actually no introduction, but I would love to introduce him nonetheless. He graduated from the Institute of 10 November in Surabaya with a bachelor degree in mathematics. He obtained both his master's degree and doctoral degree from the Texas A&M University in the United States. Before joining the public sector, he forged a career in the oil and gas industry, notably serving as the Vice President and COO of Petroneering. He then joined the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources as a senior advisor for investment and development of infrastructure in 2016, and is now the head of the Human Resources Development Agency, and the very reason we are here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Prahoro Yulianto Nurcahyo to the stage.
Good morning. I'd like to start with the standard of operations in the military. basically specify for any officer who send a soldier in the battle without weapon that must be trained by martial arts skills. That's basically the code of conduct. So with similar protection for government officer, they cannot be sent to serve as in public service without a proper competency or minimum requirement for the educational background. That being said, the commitment to have proper training or meet a certain education level for our government officer is essential. My name is Praharono Cahyo. I am the Chief Human Capital Officer within the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, and would like to welcome you all at the first Embassy Forum here in Labuan Bajo. So by the end of the discussion, I promise that you will have a better understanding of the strategic plan that being implemented within the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources for preparing human capital development. This fiscal year, 2022, we have allocated a budget for master's and doctoral degrees in various subjects for our government officers who pass certain requirements. One of the requirements being a minimum TOEFL of 550 or IELTS 6.5. Let me start today's presentation by saying a good roadmap will remain as a piece of paper if there is no one has competency, resources, who are able to run the roadmap. Meaning, it doesn't matter how good your plan or program is. If there is no people who can make it happen, those good plans or programs become a waste when words cannot be met with their actions. Indonesia is blessed by aptitude filled with a potential. We have natural resources, beautiful geographical locations, a bustling populations that create a foundation of prosperity. However, those properties arise from the productivity found in these endowments. To be productive, competitiveness plays an important role. A competing factor along the productivity is human development and also effective public institutions. I would like to share with you the slides that show human capital asset that we have in this ministry. So we have a good demography, this is a good start. It's about 43% of our officers are less than 40 years old. The suffering of young minds among our officers is the ideal outlook for our institution. 10 years from now, those baskets of young officers will be the main engine that will drive the institution. What else can we see? Yes, we see but 80% of our officers have an education background of at least a bachelor degree level. And about 30% of our officers are women. This picture provides a broad map for young millennial and women talents that will make our future institution strong. We have human capital assets that need to be policed and enhanced to their best capacity. When we zoom out to the millennial age, we see about 70% of our officers have an opportunity to earn a master's degree or higher, while 21% of them have a chance for doctoral degree. In principle, we need to improve our system by learning from the past. The proposed system should deliver products that are fair, transparently tested, and foolproof accountability. The officers should not only have competency in legal aspects, but also have a strong knowledge in technical and commercial skills. Of course, we aim for our government officers not to be deep in administration work, but emphasize more on analytical work. In this energy sector, we are guiding our officers to be considered as partners of choice by our stakeholders due to their advanced expertise. When these fully equipped weapons, the outcome of this officer productivity is highly expected. So the next slide, this is just give you the broad of human capital within this ministry. Along with this one, we can see that some of them are into directly that specify in the portfolio, which is aligned with the oil and gas, renewable energy, mining, as well as the electricity. But the other group, we're also having some part that the supporting part, that which is including mechanical engineer, civil engineer, legal, commercial, economic. All this one is part of our resources that support to run this institution. Similarly for the other one, this is the one that has a bachelor degree level, and this is our human capital that has a master degree based on the expertise itself. If we zoom out again for the young engineers, the one that we have, or young officers, this is the one that we have mostly for the portfolio. You can see this one, the majority, the one that we have right now, is supporting our portfolio, supporting also for the non-technical one. For the next one, similar thing, this is the less than 40 years old that has a base on expertise with the degree of master. The next question is, in which area of the capacity or the competency needs to be fulfilled? So basically the next slide, this is the information on this slide is the energy transition strategy based on our current condition where we believe will bring a better environmental globally. Before the slide, I think you will see this background. This slide is going to be familiar to see as a strategic plan for our ministry, especially achieving net zero emissions. We have divided the strategy into different stages, where each stage demonstrates what kind of competency that we require. The roadmap will guide us to set a priority in preparing human capital. Furthermore, this is aiding our future and can be used as a reference guide for capacity building within the ministry. For example, hydrogen competency is needed more readily in the near future than nuclear knowledge. We may not need nuclear competency in the near future, but we know when to send our officer to master the expertise. As you can see from the slide, basically, You're talking the hydrogens, we need to be ready by 2031. If you're talking about the nuclear, based on this roadmap, we have to be ready by 2047 or 49. So this is the aim that we have to make sure within our ministry have to be ready when we launching this roadmap. So the next slide, that's to indicate our first 10 years field priority to enhance our competency and align with our roadmap. So in this field, you can see in geothermal, the more focus on the green hydrogen, supercritical geothermal, and also carbon trading, among others. And for electricity, that are focused on the batteries, solar power plant, hydropower, pump storage, tidal, combined cycle power plant. And then for the geology, we have to have a rare earth element exploration and analysis. For mining, we're talking about the coal gasification, the methyl ether. And then also for the oil and gas, we have a CCS and CCUS. On top of that one, among others, we still have some knowledge that we are required to fulfill for non-technical one, that's part for the project management, legal contract, economic model, business process, regulation, something that we are still needed in order to fulfill our institution to run properly. Finally, we seek potential collaboration with our selected countries. There are three things that we are proposed here. The first one is the upskilling knowledge, including in this part is the education program in higher degree. The budget has been allocated for the fiscal year of 2022, and we need your full support to implement it this year. The second one is a standard training program, including this one is a trainee to trainer. And then the third one of the most future that we like to put emphasis on that part is the cooperation with industries. Including in this one is on-job training or internship to industries or international organizations. Knowing what we have and where we want to go, we see a lot of opportunities for collaboration on the subject of human capital investment. Yes, this is long-term investment, and we cannot do it alone or without your support. Thank you.
Mr. Prahoro, thank you very much. Please do not leave the stage. Please take the seat on the stage so we can commence our Q&A session. I would also like to invite Mr. Yudo to join us on the stage for the question and answer session. Thank you very much. So, we have heard a lot from our two speakers, and we have learned about Indonesia's roadmap to reach net zero emissions by 2060 or sooner, yeah, Pak, yeah? And we have also learned about the competencies and skill sets and expertise that would need to be developed in order to support the adoption of new technologies, in order to support the complex transition from fossil fuel use to the scaled-out uptake of renewable energy in Indonesia. So there was a lot that we heard today, but before we kick off this question and answer session, I would like to perhaps direct my first question to Mr. Prahoro, because he mentioned at the very end of his speech that there was budget that was allocated already for the purposes of human capital investment, and that there are potential collaborations that the ministry is seeking. Perhaps you could elaborate on that a little bit, Mr. Prahoro. Specifically, what are some of the collaborations that you would welcome for this year? Because we know that we've already reached the mid of the year, right? So we don't have much time. Are there any specific quick wins that you are after?
Well, thank you, Mbak Ditri. So, Actually, my presentation is easier because as Pak Yudo already mentioned it at the first time about the roadmap. So I just make it quick on that one. But the most important thing is like this. We do have the roadmap. So all of our program in the regard of the human capital should follow with this roadmap. Otherwise, we're not matching. If the both of the ministry going the other direction, to, let's say, go to the short, meaning what we prepare human capital that has capability that go to the short one. That's basically the idea. And as we know, we're preparing the budget for 2022, and then we have already make a discussion with the several universities, and hopefully we still have aiming to the target by achieving this year 2022. And to name a few, we have a discussion with the university in New Zealand, and then we have a discussion with the university in Australia, and also in United Kingdom. So all those universities basically welcome with the proposal, and then we just waiting for the proposal from them, and then we try to utilize it. And if it make it possible, we try to utilize it this year. I think that's the strategy by sharing this one, basically showing them that the government, especially the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, has a plan for the human capital itself. So we are dealing within a university and the ministry. Basically, this is like a bilateral dealing basically, right, between the ministerial and the university. And hoping from there, we can continue, because this is not only for this year, but this is going to be long-term. As we said earlier, this is long-term investment. So what we invest today, maybe we not see it next year, but we'll see it for sure. 10 years from now, this is the picture what we have today.
Thank you, Mr. Prahoro. That is very clear. And again, to emphasize your point that this is a long-term investment that will commence now, but will go on until 10 years, 15 years into the future, given that Indonesia has already developed a long-term energy sector roadmap to reaching net zero emissions by 2060 or sooner. Now, we can explore that a little bit further. I believe there are questions from the audience here, as well as audience joining us virtually on WebEx or Zoom. But let me now go back to the session at hand, which is the question and answer. And this is how we will structure it today. We will first take questions from those joining us via WebEx. We have room for 3 questions. I'm just awaiting for the questions or the person who wants to ask the question to appear on here. Do we have any questions from our WebEx audience? Okay, if not, then maybe we'll swap and we will just take questions from the floor first, yeah? Mr. Prahoro, Mr. Yudo, I hope you are prepared. So we have a roving mic. I believe we have someone with a microphone. Please raise your hand, state your name and organizational affiliations, and do not forget, tell us who the question is directed to. Okay, do we have any questions from the floor? Okay, we have one question. Thank you for saving the day, miss.
Halo. Okay, hello, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Naluri Belawati. I'm from Education New Zealand. Education New Zealand, sorry, it's quite complicated with my earrings and everything. So first of all, I would like just to introduce Education New Zealand. It's a government agency from New Zealand. We are responsible for international education, so we manage from primary until higher education, and we are based in several countries in the world, including in Indonesia. So nice to meet you all, and nice to meet you again, Pak Yudo and also Pak Prahoro. So my question is for Pak Prahoro, because you have mentioned that you are seeking a bilateral dealing, but do you foresee any formal relationship or partnership with the government, and not only for the individual university? Because I think it will also set our nuances and how we can support your initiative. I think that's the first question. The second one is, again, you mentioned this is a long-term investment, but do you foresee this as a rolling program like LPDP that you will send the officers of SDM every year? And for now, how many years do you foresee this investment? For example, have you discussed about this investment in the first 5 years or 3 years or something along those lines? So I think that would really help us from the partner universities or the partner government to see whether we can support you more than just 1 year. Thank you so much, and over to you, Mrs. Moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Naluri. Very excellent questions, Pak Prahoro. Silakan.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Naluri. The first question. We are open with all kind of collaborations. So basically, to name a few, we also make collaborations with the Embassy of New Zealand, Switzerland. So we write a MOU with the Embassy of Switzerland. The breakdown from this collaboration, we also mentioned about the skills that we can gain from that part. On top of the one that we just mentioned, talking about the university scholarship and then also training and then material for training, training for trainer. That one's also include that one. So yes, we are open that one. The more specific that we discussed today, basically are just focusing on the master's and doctoral degree, but this is not limited to that part. So we are open with all the scheme that we have mentioned earlier. There are 3 opportunities that we can go. So basically this is open to that portion. And then the second question. What's the second question again?
The second question concerns long-term investment, Pak. Maybe you can share a little bit about your vision.
So basically, if you can see from the slide, basically we can share the slide for you, the one that we have right now. The roadmap telling us the requirement or the competency we need until 2060. So if you can see from this one, 2020. So that's why we break down this one into several stages. And the fields that we have preparing the one that we have the next slide, this is basically the priority fields for the next 10 years. So that's why the one that we have right now, we more focusing on we try to tackle that one step by step. The one that we needed, what is the field or the competency that we require between now until 2030. And then what is the preparing for the next one. So basically this is the thing. So when we're talking about this is long term, yes, this is the strategy that we are used as a guideline. That's the first time. And then the second one, we're talking about is this something that we can use as a planning for future? Yes. Because we need this role model. We need to have this roadmap to make sure we are not shifted to the other way. So basically this is the guideline. So in order to meet with this goal, we need to have this kind of roadmap, especially for the next 5 years or the 10 years. But the one that you just saw in the slide, this is the 10 years field that we think is our interest that we need to fulfill within our government officer.
Thank you, Pak Prahoro. I wonder if what Mbak Naluri means or what Mbak Naluri is after with the long-term investment question also concerns the allocation of resources by the ministry. Do you think the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources would be committed to continue to allocate resources for to support human capital development, especially specifically master's and doctoral degrees, and maybe vocational training based on the net zero emissions plan, maybe 5 years into the future or 10 years in the future? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So basically, when we're talking about this budget, we cannot make a decision from our own side. Right? So basically, we have other ministries that have that. Of course, everything is depend on with the situation from the government itself. But the one that we try to highlight is this: there is a need, and there is a requirement in order to run this one smoothly, in order to run this one into the specific target. We need these human resources. So that's basically the one that we put. Of course, if we rely on the government budget is very limited. So that's why we also open to other opportunities to work around with other international organizations or even the university or other countries that may have other programs that we can work it together in order to achieve the same goal. Because this is also the investment from others also to provide with the human capital in this ministry, especially in the energy sector.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Prahoro. Does that clarify? Does that answer your question? Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'm dominating the presentation today, but I have like very technical question. So, how many officers that you are aimed to send this year, and then what is the breakdown? Because I have also heard that you will be partnering up with 11 countries. So how are you going to break down the officers? I don't know whether you can answer that, but I think it's very important for us to know as well, so we can manage the expectation. Yeah. Thank you.
This is very technical one, basically.
but a very welcome one, right? A very welcome question.
Very welcome. Okay. So the initial one that we have to try to see, basically, of course, this number is going to be subject to, right? Subject to. The first time we aiming to have like a total is about 47 scholarships. The one is divided into two different one in domestic, the second one is in abroad. So the numbers at the first initial is about 47, from the total 47 is 37 in the domestic and then about 10 scholarship going to the abroad. But again, this number could change depending with the situation and what is the requirement coming from the sectors, coming the portfolio. Because this is the most important thing for us, and we flexible on that, but again, we try to see what is the one that provide with the best interest, the best benefit for the ministry. That one is give a good number at first time, but overall, we can see this one, but the change in the numbers, if we see the opportunity coming.
I see.
Right?
So it's actually contextual on requirements coming from partner organizations, including universities and countries, right? I think that that answers your question, right, Ms. Naluri. I would like to invite a comment from Pak Yudo, because in your presentation you mentioned about technology transfer and this human capital investment, especially one seeking deep collaboration with universities and countries that are renowned for their advanced technical expertise in the new and renewable energy technologies that we'd like to see being adopted here. Do you think that these kind of collaborations are the ones that can advance that particular goal of technology transfer?
Yes, of course. Energy transition is a very long process. Speaking of 2060 is 4 decades ahead, right? So we need to prepare right now, Pak Prahoro. That's why Pak Prahoro have this initiative to prepare our human resource development. So basically, again, number one, the role of youth is very important. Yeah, we need to prepare our youth, our younger generation to be prepared, during this energy transition. And secondly, yes, we want to pursue more competent person. Degrees, master degrees, doctoral degrees, and learning in the area that Pak Prahoro already mentioned about geothermal until many things that he just explained to us. And the G20, yes, we are taking youth participation very seriously, actually, and then that's why Indonesia, in parallel with this, our event, we always have a youth forum.
Youth engagement.
That's right, something like that,
Right.
And also
at a practical level, in the sense that in Yogyakarta, the first meeting, the young generation installed a new solar power plant, community scale, and then also in here they will install in some islands, not in the Flores Island, but in some small island way there. And in Bali, they plan to install one in Ubud for the Desa Mandi Independence Energy village level, something like that.
Yep.
With a strong support from Pertamina.
Yep.
And again, this is very long process. Never happened before. I have a long career in Bappenas. So speaking about national planning, Pak Prahoro, the longest horizon is 25 years. And
this goes beyond that.
It is a law. It is a law. We have a law on 25-year development plan. So we need to someday, Pak Prahoro, we need to prepare what kind of regulatory, what kind of law as the basis of energy tension.
Yes.
Yeah, because again, never happened before that we prepare 4 decades ahead.
Yeah. This is 38 years, Pak, yeah? This is 2022
right.
and then 2060.
That's right.
It's
That's
very,
right.
very long.
Yeah.
It's an entire generation, yeah, Pak
Yes.
Yudo, yeah?
Yes.
How has your own experience obtaining education from overseas as a civil servant at Bappenas, how did it change you? How did it empower you?
Oh, a lot, Bu. Not really from coming from my discipline actually. When I was coming from US, 1997, it was a crisis, a serious economic crisis in Indonesia, But very lucky at that time, I was appointed. This is very interesting story, Speaking about my own feeling, I was appointed as the first project manager for social safety net. So that's why I should say I have a very good background on access, on talking about poverty, talking about at that time we spent, I still remember, we spent 2 days 2 nights preparing a design that right now still being used by the government. How the government prepare a system financially, transfer from Jakarta to one particular school everywhere in Indonesia. Yeah, about the maintenance cost, maintenance budget, about scholarship for a student,
Yeah, and all of that knowledge
Yes.
that you've gained
Yes,
overseas.
and again, it is about management. So again, the basic is, coming back to my master degree on management.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Yudo, for those enlightening answers. Now we have a question from our WebEx audience from Tanya Ermi of Murdoch University. I would like to invite Tanya to ask her question. So we can see her over there. Yeah. Please turn on your camera. Hello. A very good day to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question to the speaker 3, Pak Prahora. So at Murdoch University, we run one of the longest renewable energy postgraduate courses, and we also supervise many master's and PhD student research. And especially recently, we have done one on the sustainable energy framework. And from the comments from one of the examiner mentioned that his long years of engagement in the SDG policy making confirmed that this method proposed in the thesis would be put to use by Indonesian government. So I have 2 questions. One is, we would like to share our experience and the findings from the study that we have in Indonesia and how to do that. And also we would like to be part of this novel idea of developing skilled human resources. So what is the next step? I mean, when you do expect, is the from proposal, or is there any contact details that we can use for the next steps? Thank you.
Thank you. Jump right in, Pak. Silakan.
Right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Ms. Tanya. I think to wrap the answer 1 and 2 question. I think we do have a PIC, the one that we have right now, that you can contact with. But in general, we need to have your proposals that are answering our roadmap, whether the program that you're offering to our ministry is aligned with our roadmap. So by seeing that one, so we can see, and then we try to see also what is the all the kind of informations, specifically for the research area, and then also what is kind of the goal from your side in order to achieve on this particular case. Because this is very important for us when we make a decision also, try to get everything is in line, especially to align between our goals and then what you can support us. So we waiting for the proposal from the university. Of course, we can share for the slide presentation that I have, talking about the roadmap and then what kind of field that we are required for the next 10 years. And then from there, we can start the discussion. And hopefully, we can make it quick, Ms. Tanya. So basically, we'd like to get everything, this one, before 2020, fiscal 2022 done. So we need to make sure this year is going to be finished.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Prahoro. Thank you, Ms. Ermi. So excellent. We have an expression of interest from Murdoch University. And perhaps your answer, I could perhaps summarize your answer a little bit, because I think this will be of interest to potential, partner universities watching now, joining us virtually as well as in person. The steps would roughly be the following, right? First of all, come forward, get in touch with us, and tell us how your program, the programs, whether it is short courses or master degrees or research programs that you think would fit our needs, especially pertaining the roadmap that was just presented by both Mr. Yudo and Mr. Prahoro. And then, we will have a series of discussions, intensive engagements, to figure out what the best scheme would be, because you are very open to a variety of schemes, right? And your hope that you expressed just now is that we can seal the deal for this year, right? Because Mr. Prahoro told me that the successful implementation of this collaboration this year would ensure the continuation of the support and program, right? Correct? Okay, that's excellent. Now we have a question for Mr. Yudo. Unfortunately, we don't know the person asking the question. I assuming an anonymous person. How is the role of developed countries in supporting net zero emissions in the years to come? What are the concrete steps that can be taken into action? So perhaps I think what this person is really after is understanding what developed countries have said they would commit to supporting when it comes to implementation of net zero emissions in an emerging economy like Indonesia. I'm sure you can tell us a lot about it, having all the, leading these negotiations at the G20.
Again, this is a good momentum for us, all of us, to accelerate our energy transition process, And Indonesia already indicate those willingness to this about this acceleration. That's why the president mentioned about 2060 or sooner, and we are ready for that. And speaking about acceleration, there are two things, two main things. Of course, there are a lot of variables, but two main variables. Number one is technology. We need to cooperate on technology. The available technology, we want to absorb, use it, implement it based on our own situation. And of course, we want to work hand in hand to develop new technologies. New technologies is very important, but we know the gap between developed and developing countries. So there are already identified about 400 technologies that all of us as a group needs for our energy transition, and half of it already available. You know,
Only half, yeah?
Yeah, only half.
200.
So we need more technologies. Another half is is still under research, development, deployment, something like that. What kind of technology is that? Number one, of course, mentioned about hydrogen. Secondly, for instance, ocean.
Ocean.
Another one is storage, battery, etc. This is only an example, that new technology that we need to support our energy transition isolation. And second one, of course, financing. Speaking what is the difference between developed and developing countries? Yes, among others, finance. Financial capacity is the difference between these two groups. That's why we also want to pursue new type of instrument, new commitment to support us, and greater involvement of financial institutions, domestically, of course, and also when we plan this energy transition, I should say it should be country-led by the country themselves, and then they have the skeleton. They need to plan just like us, and then we can discuss intensively with our different partners to support us in one or two particular areas. And again, I should say, based on my analysis, I think we need more than cooperation. We need a partnership. So
Yes.
partnership is a stronger word for working hand in hand together, something like that. I think we are preparing that. We are open to any partnership to get more involvement for our friends, countries to support us in energy transition again, because we do aware that, I think as the country we aware that technology and finance, those are two things that we do need.
Thank you, Mr. Yudo. So technology transfer and finance are the two areas in which developed countries can provide significant support to emerging economies like Indonesia in implementing the net zero emissions plan. It's interesting when you mentioned that the Energy Transitions Working Group has identified 400 technologies that would be needed for the G20 economies collectively to achieve net zero emissions by, there was a variety of targets, right? 2050, 2053, 2060, even 2070. And so that means for the 200 remaining technologies, there is wide open space for deep collaboration in research, in development, in innovation, in testing, deployment, commercialization, so many avenues.
Standard as well.
Yeah.
New standards.
Yes, new centers, right? Science centers and also implementation centers. And as an archipelagic nation, we have a variety of terrain and energy challenges that I think would make a formidable lab for the G20 economies, right? I mean, if you want to look, for example, ocean energy potentials, look no further. We are here in Labuan Bajo, right? We can go a little bit further east and you get all of these potential. You want to look for solar potential, there's plenty all around this nation. So I think it's safe for me to perhaps say, Pa Prahoro, that there is so many potential for collaboration here, not only just in the realm of providing scholarships or internships, right? So it's a wide open space. Now, we have a question from WebEx, from our audience in WebEx, and I would like to invite Mr. Muhaimin Shamsuddin from the British Council in Indonesia to ask his question. Hello, Mr. Muhaimin, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, we can
morning,
see you.
Bu.
Very good morning to you.
Thank you for the opportunity. So, and thank you for the presentations. My questions is for Pak Prahoro. First is, The British Council has been running Women in STEM Scholarship for the past 2 years for Indonesia female scientists. My question is whether the ministry is open for co-branding scholarship initiative. Second, sorry if this is too technical, when do you expect to receive proposal from potential partner, and who should we contact at the ministry for more technical questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muhaimin. Pak Prahoro, these are the questions that you have been looking for, right? But
Yeah,
please.
the first question, whether ASDM is open for co-branding scholarship initiative. Basically, we open for all opportunity that we are aiming to get the cooperation. The second one, when you're talking about when, actually yesterday, Pak.
Yesterday.
No, actually, the answer is as soon as possible, because we aiming this one is 2022. So basically, we only have like 5 months ahead that we have right now. So hopefully, when by setting up the agreement at the first time, so we know what is the requirement and then what the next process. Because as you see from the previous video, there is some administration process that need to be fulfilled before happening to get the visa, right? So I think this is something that we like to get as soon as possible. We have all this kind of information, and we have a submission from the audience, from the university, that will be beneficial for us. And then the contact persons, basically you can directly go to our officers. There is Pak Milan here that is in charge for this ministry, especially from BPSDM, from head of agency in the set. Pak Milan here, right? Okay, yeah, it's Pak Milan here. So basically, we can contact with Pak Milan for the next discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Prahoro. I'm sure Pak Milan will make himself known to everyone here with us today, virtually as well as on site, who have expressed interest in supporting this collaboration. Now, we would like to welcome more questions from the floor. I believe the gentlemen over here have questions. Okay, silakan. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm David Lutman from the British Embassy, Jakarta. I'd just like to pick up on Pat Prahoro's speech about building human capacity. But before I do, just I think just to comment on the assistance that's available from the international community. So I think all of those things that Pat Yudo quoted are very, very important, and we're really happy to work in partnership with Indonesia on those. And I think there's other areas that equally, for example, regulatory assistance. So how you put in place regulatory environment to enable particularly private sector investment in renewables, and to create an environment that can be market driven in terms of accelerating transition. And we're really happy through the Mentari program to be working in partnership with the ESDM on that. And I'd also heard that Ministry of Industry may have scrapped the local content solar regulations, which I think would be a really, really important step in accelerating solar deployment in Indonesia. So it'd be really, really good to understand whether that's the case. And on technology transfer, R&D into new technologies that can accelerate transition are really, really important. But we also know that there are technologies that are available now, dark green technologies like solar, wind, hydro, that can be deployed at scale and at pace cheaply right now. So in terms of accelerating the pace of transition, the R&D point is important, but we can work together to move on transition faster at this point in time. Just on the human capital, I think that the UK, we're really happy to provide contacts with our universities, so academia, but also from a G2G perspective in terms of partnerships with our UK national grid, with our regulator Ofgem, and with our energy ministry as well. So potentially placements and exchanges and also short courses from those organisations, and also programme to government. So our Mentari programme, and we already have some secondees working in the Energy Ministry, and we'd be happy to discuss with you, putting temporary placements in to help with capacity building and human capital, whilst those longer term strategies are being put in place. So I know that's a lot, so I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the expression, of interest, very clear as to where the opportunities lie when it comes to forging, deeper, further collaborations, especially with the British government and British institutions. I heard that you mentioned the national grid, for example. I think that would be marvelous because there is a real need to support the human capital investment in terms of grid management as we are looking to overhaul our grid, right? To support all these uptake in renewables that will be coming in as we go into our net zero emissions era. So, Pak Prahoro, do you want to comment on what was said just now?
Well, I think nothing to comment from what David mentioned. Actually, David has been a full support for us. I think we just met, I think, a month ago, and the follow-up action is very, very useful. It is very. Thank you so much, David, for supporting all this one. And I think we do have actually we have been since the last meeting with you, we have been contacting with Heriot University. That one is they are already preparing. Actually, they are ready to submit the proposal for renewable energy and then for offshore wind, everything, the one that they try to offer to the minister. I think this is very good step that the British Council and British Embassy here in Jakarta. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Prahoro. Mr. Yudo, would you like to comment as well?
Yeah, Pak David, UK is a very strong supporter for our energy transition process. Thank you for it. I just want to add something. That speaking about technology and referring to our condition as an archipelagic countries, I would say Pak Prahoro also adding the feature of archipelagic. Speaking about independent system, speaking about Pak David, you know that we want to build our super grid to connect inter-island. Pak Dadan knows the story better than me. But I think there's something that we need also to work, Pak Prahoro, enrich our young generation to be ready one day. For instance, like inter-island transmission network. Yeah, that's an independent system. And thousands of small islands in Indonesia, G20, I will bring G20, all of us, both of us, I mean, we will bring G20 delegates to Mesa Island close here to see 500 kilowatt hour peak. This is the real situation, speaking about archipelagic and island state. That's something that we also want to get some idea from G20 countries what should be done with many island countries in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yudo. Thank you, Mr. Yudo, for the answer, especially that trip. I believe many will be looking forward to, and that can, firsthand show what Indonesia inspires under that thematic discussion that we've set for the Energy Transition Working Group. So I can sense a commotion in the room because we have someone joining us, much anticipated. I wonder if I should invite him directly onto the stage or read his very long biography. What should I do first? Gentlemen? Okay, let me introduce someone who was supposed to be speaking earlier, but only joined us now due to a delay in his flight. So this person, one of our resource person today, who will be joining us shortly, graduated from the Bogor Institute of Agriculture, then continued his education at the Kyoto University, Japan, earning his master's degree in energy science and subsequently a doctoral degree at the same university. He has served the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. Back then it was called something else. It was called the the Ministry of Mining and Energy since 1992. So he's had a long-standing career in the ministry. Prior to his current position as the Director General for New and Renewable Energy, he was the Head of Research and Development Agency, and prior to that, the Senior Advisor to the Ministry on the Economy of Natural Resources. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in inviting Mr. Dadan Kusdiana to the stage.
Cek. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang. Mohon maaf. Very good morning. Very sorry for the delay. I think I did my best. I spent overnight in Surabaya to take the first flight from Surabaya because there is no flight from Jakarta in the morning. So I did that, but still delay. And this. So very sorry, Pak Prahoro and Pak Yude, the co-chairs of the Energy Transition Working Group of the Ministry. But I think I did finally came here. I don't know what happened in the morning, but I will do as I plan. I mean, I will present what that currently Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources is doing in energy transition, with of course with the support of some countries, UK for example here. So I will do that in the first, then I will list some of our shopping lists in terms of the development of human capital. For us, I mean for ministry, for the Indonesia probably, so human capital development is similarly important. With those, I think mentioned already by Pak Prahoro, by Pak Yudo, or even by our moderator, Mbak Putri or Mbak Ditri, that in addition to technology and finance, that we are putting this as a priority. So the human capital development is, it of course, the thing that is very strategic to us. Yeah. So I will do that part at the end. Let's see. Well, some of you, I believe, familiar already with, has been familiar with Indonesian situation. We are in the country that it's only rich in terms of the volume of renewable energy, but also this is the variation of renewable energy. So to David, we heard that last year in UK in November, or October, November, December probably, there was the issue of the some difficult situation of renewable energy coming from wind and also from the solar. UK has developed a large capacity in those two renewable energy. And at that time, there was something happened in terms of the climate, in which then the electricity condition in UK in some areas probably lacking from the electricity coming from renewable. But for us here, we have solar, we have hydro, we have bioenergy, we have wind, geothermal, and probably tidal, the one that has been identified in some location, including in this area, in Labuan Bajo. So we have this variation. So don't worry in terms of the people commenting to us that it's not only in UK actually, in Taiwan also happened when big solar capacity just got the problem. But for us, I think we have those in combination, and it's not only the good variation, but also this is distributed very well. From west part of our country, from Aceh, we have a huge potential resources in terms of the hydro. We have some of the geothermal. So one island in western part of the Aceh, there are potential of renewable of 40 to 50 megawatt coming from geothermal. So we are thinking to have the subsea cable from the island to support the main island of the Sumatra. So we have also huge hydro in very northern part of the Kalimantan, just very close to our neighbor country of the Malaysia. We have also huge hydro in Papua, and in particular in this very interesting island of Flores or Nusa Tenggara. I think we have almost all except large hydro potential. So those are actually conditions of our country of Indonesia. And we put already the target of the 26% in terms of renewable energy in 2025. We are currently 12.2%. And we committed ourselves also as the country for the reduction of emission of 29% in 2030. We are on that way. From energy sector, I think we are quite on the track, because we put on the track at least as easy as possible in the beginning, and then put more commitment at the end in 2028 up to 2030. Our president has mentioned the last in COP26, and also I think the very last is the meeting of energy major economics last week. So my president also continuing that Indonesian commitment into the reduction of the emission and also to net zero emission in 2060 or earlier. We have some strategies, with, of course, with the support of some of the countries, and also from some agencies, World Bank, ADB, with the project of the gradual retirement of coal-fired power plant, and also accelerating of our new renewable energy development use. I think the efficient and effective technology is also much more important currently, because the very high price of the fossil energy, and application of smart grid and others, because we are a supply countries. So this is our planning up to 2060. We do very specific, very accurate, at least for the first 10 years or the first 5 years. You can ask to us what behind that figure, but I think from 2030 we are something loose in terms of the putting the share of renewable energy technology, because some technology are actually is not in our capacity, at least in terms of the economic situation. Yeah. So we will put more in terms of solar, with the assumption that technology of battery is competitive enough for us to support the 100% of renewable energy for 24 hours. So, and others are, we will use almost 80% of the resources coming from geothermal. So up 24 gigawatt, we put there in the graph is up to almost 18 gigawatt. And also including the hydro, wind. I think from time to time, the potential or resources of wind is increasing, because we have done a lot of in terms of the survey, identification, modeling on this. So for us, that probably up to 2029, 2030, this simulation is quite comprehensive. But I think after that, I believe that there will be some dynamic situation development and also the change in terms of putting up the technology. Yeah. This is only for the electricity. Of course, the energy transition is not only dealing with electricity, but also with other form of energy, with fuel, for example, LPG, in which 70% coming from the import on this. So we will be using battery as the energy storage, and also hydrogen, I think, as the energy carrier on this. Those are not in our hand yet. I mean, in terms of technology, in terms of capacity for the development. We will need smart grid. We will have a super grid to connect those resources that I mentioned earlier, because the demand is now something different. 70%, I think, the demand are still in Java so far, and we are trying to have more also in the other island, in particular in Kalimantan. So smart grid, super grid, that will be also something new for us. And it's not only the thing that related with the construction technology, but I think the knowledge in terms of the resource planning, investment, financing, the social impact, that will be also something that important for us, then that we need also the human resource on this. We are trying to have the passing out for the coal. This is a normal passing out, so we don't put any money yet on this. I mean, this will follow the contract. This will follow the age of the coal-fired power plant. So basically, I think this will be free. This is in my opinion, yeah. So they are following some contract that already existing now. So by 2059 or 2056, we will be free from the coal-fired power plant in the country. So let's see what happened up to 2030. This is our medium plan for electricity. So we are trying to have additional capacity of 20.9 gigawatt of renewables into the grid. So we are talking of the electricity connected into the grid. I think there are some also initiative coming from industries, household, to add more renewable energy by themselves, yeah, through the solar rooftop, for example, on this. So that are not included in this planning. So this is actually coming solely from the PLN. So this is, we call this is RUPTL PLN, in which almost 52% coming from renewable energy. This is our first situation that the general RUPTL PLN is putting more renewable energy than the fossil. So those are the distribution of the project from Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Nusa Tenggara, and others. I think those islands, and also coming to the east to Papua. So we have the geothermal, large hydro, and also mini hydro, solar photovoltaic, wind turbine, bioenergy, and also using renewable energy in the small implementation. Yeah, this is the one I said. I start to do the shopping list on this. Yeah, in terms of the human capital development, as I mentioned, that the first, of course, we start with the energy transition toward the net zero emission. And of course, it's not only putting renewable energy into the grid, or in order to have those into the grid, then we call here is driving factors in renewable energy, or enabling aspect. We have to have the system mechanism in terms of financing the fund. We are also putting attention into the local content. Of course, the safety also, so implementation of local content, this one is also important to us. I think this is also important to others as the policy of each country. We are trying also to expand the mechanism. It's not only coming to the PLN grid and then sell to the customer, but we are trying also to do the breakthrough, to innovate our regulation by having so-called here is power wheeling and direct PPA. Power wheeling is if Payudo has the industry in here, for example, in Labuan Bajo, then Payudo can develop the solar or geothermal in 20 or 30 kilometers from here, and then use the transmission line of PLN. Of course, this is not free. Payudo has to pay on this. So we call this power wheeling. So by this, I think we can add more opportunities to the private development. And even for the renewable energy law, we are trying to have more. It's not only in the same company, but say, for example, Payudo can buy the electricity from myself using the grid they build specifically or using the grid of PLN. This is we call is direct PPA. So with different company on this. Of course, pricing incentive for renewable energy. We are in the process of the finalizing of our regulation for pricing. I believe this month or next month that will be we will have the new one. Licensing harmonization, renewable energy portfolio standard. Well, it is on the draft of our law of renewable energy. Although this is actually the old mechanism, putting the portfolio standard. But we see whether we will go with this or not, or we will have something like innovative mechanism, for example, by putting incentive on this. We need still innovation of renewable energy in some areas, or in particular, for example, for tidal energy, we don't have yet, and we will see whether we can have something like pilot project on this. And the thing that is always important to us is public participation. Of course, most of the project, most of development will be from the private or business entity, but having the public participation, that always important also to us to have the sustainable development for the economics. So synergy and collaboration are key in accelerating the development of renewable energy. So then how then we can collaborate in human capital development, starting from the capacity building, technology innovation, technical assistance, certification. This is also the thing that coming much more important recently, and also research and pilot project. So let's see the list for us. I mentioned already the renewable energy implementation to go to net zero, the rooftop, the PV in particular, hydro, geothermal, and others, and also in terms of the energy utilization. Since to have the net zero emission, it has to do by both sides, supply and also the demand side, and also government and business strategy, accountability, having the incentive to see risk, and also investment, business process, regulation, sustainability issues that will be with us, I think, from now on. So some scope of activities of those type of the energy development started probably from the planning, constructions. We need also the activities in terms of the consulting, auditing also, of course, inspector, in particular in the area of geothermal. This is having the quite high risk during the development. Supporting scope of accounting, legal, financing, research and survey. This is also something that's supporting for the project. research and development on biofuel, on battery, hydrogen, up to the manufacture activities, electric vehicle, and in others. It needs, of course, many specific knowledge, specific experiences, specific capacities coming from the knowledge in terms of the electro, chemistry, physics, nuclear. We put also nuclear in our roadmap from 2040. And then I think civil, planology, others, to the machines, biology is important for us for the bioenergy and safety. Geoscience for it's not only for geothermal but also for the hydro. This is also supporting knowledge to us during the development, economics, management, accounting, law, IT and informatics, and some others probably is not listed here. So I think those coming from our side, from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. So Pak Yudo, Pak Prahoro is responsible to support us on how to have the human resources that can support the net zero emission, that can support at least in particular to go to the NDC in 2030. We are contributing up to 40% in terms of the volume of the greenhouse gas emission, and those I think will be coming from renewable energy, will be coming from energy efficiency, will be coming also from the use of technology, from the use of high quality of the fuel. So thank you, Mbak Ditri, and thank you for Pak Prahoro in having this very strategic idea to start with our big activities today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, to see on how that our embassies in Jakarta, in our neighboring countries, in which we have very good relationship for some, and they are showing to us the commitment to support Pak Yude already. Yeah. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Dadan. Please join us on the stage so we can resume our question and answer session. That was very, again, I think I'm overusing the word, but very insightful, especially the last slide lays it out really clearly. Pak Dadan calls it his wish list, right? His wish list, and his message is very, very clear as well. The challenge here is how do we invest in all these competencies and skills to help Indonesia at the very least reach the first milestone, and that would be 2030. The NDC in itself has a lot of elements. There's a lot of elements to that plan that needs to be put in action. And so we hope that out of our meeting today, we can garner not just interest, but also commitments, ya Pak ya, Pak Prahoro, so we can move the work forward. All right, now I would like to perhaps check with the organizers first. Do we have any questions from our Zoom audience? Now, that's the one category of participants that we haven't given the chance to ask questions. All right, so we do have a question, but we are missing the identity of the person asking the question. Never mind, that's not a problem. This question is directed to Pak Dadan and Pak Prahoro. I'm switching from Mr. to Pak because I think it's more appropriate. So what kind of program that the ministry has prepared for supporting, and this is interesting, pump storage system, battery energy storage system, and hydrogen, especially in terms of competencies and skills related to technology. So this is probably for you, Pak Dadan, and human capital. Now this is also for you, Pak Prahoro. All right, I will invite Pak Dadan to answer first because he's our late joiner. Please, Pak Dadan.
Terima kasih, Mbak Putri. So in terms of the program of pump storage and battery,
I saw already in my presentation, and we have some planning to have this in commercial one. I think last year, PLN has signed the contract for the first pump storage with the size of 1,200 megawatt in Java. That will be our first pump storage to be used as to supply the electricity during the peak time, yeah, in Jakarta. So we have this project in very close to Jakarta, probably 2 or 3 hours from Jakarta, in the area of Cianjur. So we will have the first one supported by from the World Bank in the financing. We put another 2 in our planning with the total, I think, 2,000 something. So we will have the big one. So pump storage, the size is always 100 or even very close to 2,000. So why then we are using the pump storage? Since now, I think actually the implementation of the use of hydro, in particular in Java, they are not basically providing us the electricity during the base load. They are basically as the peak load. Yeah. So to support during the nights, early nights. Yeah. So we have already for the pump storage, for the hydrogen. This is the one that we are trying to work together with others in particular. Yeah. We have cooperation with Japan for the hydrogen. In particular, it's not only hydrogen, but I think this is the hydrogen carrier, yeah, in the ammonia. If I may say that Mitsubishi, for example, working with Ministry of Energy in particular to do the feasibility study. We are trying to have also the pilot project using geothermal. So the electricity coming from geothermal then will be used directly to convert the water into the hydrogen. I think this will be coming from the Pertamina companies, PGE, Pertamina Geothermal. So they have the cooperation, I think, with some support also from GIZ on this idea. We have the initiative here in Flores Island, Flores or Sumba, but this is in Nusa Tenggara Timur, yeah, to work together with a company from Europe, of course, from EU. They are proposing to us to have the small implementation of the hydrogen used as the storage of energy. So they will be developing the solar panel in the size of 10 megawatt and then provide electricity during the day and night, so 24 hours. And during the night, well, this is, for me, this is a little bit complicated, of course, yeah. But they have such idea. This electricity then converted to hydrogen. Some are stored in battery. And then during the night, this hydrogen then converted again into electricity. Well, we will see. I mean, if this is something interesting for the development, because for me, the game changer is that will be between hydrogen or battery. At the end, I think we have to choose for electricity, yeah, or even for transportation.
Thank you, Pak Dadan. Now on to Pak Prahoro to answer the same question.
Well, I'm very relieved now since I'm right now on my left side is Pak Dirjen EPT, Pak Dadan, and my right side now. Basically, I cover by both. It's easier for me, right? Previously, I just wondering, where is my left side? My left side now is here. Okay, so basically, what Pak Dadan mentioned earlier, this is aligned with what we have discussed. I think I met with Pak Dadan about 6 months ago when Pak Dadan proposing the plan for net zero emission. And then I was asking him at the time, Pak, this roadmap is very good, but the most important thing is, do we have human capital that support that roadmap? That's the idea. So basically, what you just mentioning on the questions, what is the human capital plan in order to achieve? One of them talking about the pump storage, one of them talking about all those kind of related with the NZE, the one that we have right now. And this is basically aligned what we have right now, basically human capital, human resources development agency within Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. This is, we work very close with our DG, our Director General in the ministry, to get the information where is the technology lying on right now. So basically this is very important for us because not only tapping from the source, but we like to see what kind of information that we like to get. So our plan, the one that we have right now, based on the roadmap, based on what the, let's say the one we just mentioned from Dadan in specific case, school is one of them. Basically sending to the degree is one of the solutions. The second one that we try to utilize more, basically we try to engage to have a cooperation with industries. So by sending internship program for our government officer to the industries, that's one way to speed up, to get the knowledge, to enhance the capacity and competency for the government officer itself. So basically, by having this kind of knowledge, this kind of competency, make easier when they talk the same language with other partners. And especially when we have right now, we are in sectors, so we should have the competency and technical one, and also commercial one. So this kind of capability that we need to build into the government officer competency. So whatever the program that Pak Dadan have or other DG have, it's going to be easier to implement it in the root. So this is not only just the paper, but we need to implement it in the real world. I think this is the plan that's already capitalized within our agency, and hopefully we can run it this one late this year, hopefully for the corporation, and for sure we need to make sure 2023 is going to be have the platform, but 2022 this is the base that we can meet for the next one, for next step.
Thank you, Pak Prahoro. Again, we hear you loud and clear, right? We need to move fast. We have the resources allocated for this year, the list of competencies and skills that will be required to support Indonesia's ambitious net zero emissions plan is already being laid out, right? So I think we believe we should give Pak Prahoro and the excellent panel here a round of applause in support of this noble goal, I would say. We do have a bit more time, so I will take one more question from our Zoom audience. I believe we have a few listed. All right, so we have one from Ibu Indri from the National Energy Council Secretariat. So this is directed to Mr. Yudo. What energy transition effort? What effort within the energy transition framework is the significant contributor that could ensure energy transition a success, right? Is it the use of energy efficiency or any strategies within the power sector? And then there's the question, is the use of electricity energy effective related to the government plan to raise the electricity rate? I think this is a broad comment on which of the strategies within the very, very big plan until 2060. But Yudo already mentioned, 38 years, in planning. Which is the one that we should be really going after? I think in the near term and in the long term.
Simply say, Bu Indri, number one, increase the portion of renewables. So we need to seriously increase the investment. New projects should be in place, and it is about renewables. That's number one. Secondly, of course, energy efficiency as well. And third one, again, this is a new game that we have to think very seriously. How make this transition, just and fair for all people, avoiding automating negative impacts doing transition for the next 38 years for unlucky person, unlucky groups, everybody in the world, so everybody should be, winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last one, Bu Indri, is about social actually, more social economy rather than technical technology or finance. Yeah, it's a new thing that we have to think together. This is the new theme of energy transition, just energy transition.
Thank you, Pa Yudo. So that's a very interesting point that you raised here, especially because the energy transition that we are after is a just energy transition, right? You mentioned that again and again. And you also mentioned that this is about making sure that everyone is a winner. So, so can you maybe elaborate a little bit on what you just mentioned about the competencies and skills? There was a lot mentioned coming from the field of engineering, physics, chemistry. You just mentioned social science is also important, right? And you also shared with us today that your training in management helped you a lot in your work at Bapanas. Can you tell us maybe a bit more? Maybe you can add to the long wish list. Where would you like to see the graduates coming from areas of discipline within social science or political science? Do you think they would be important as well for energy transition?
Yeah, of course, and again, we will see a more rich analysis, for energy policies. Again, technically, yes, technologically, there's new things of technology, finance as well, speaking about how to support new energy projects in place. And another one is, preparing analysis like economy, poverty. In G20, we're also talking about energy poverty. So this is a new standard. In access, we are talking more. I think we are in the process, in the beginning of shifting from SDGs to a higher standard. African countries already mentioned about at least we are heading to 1,000 kilowatt hour per person, per capita. So Indonesia, a number is in 2024, we will our plan is reaching 1,400 kilowatt hour per capita.
Right.
So it's even for access, there's a shifting paradigm, not only providing electricity, but at a minimum standard for people to grow, to develop, to reach their well-being, something like that. And also for energy security, there's also another concept, that we need to think seriously about expanding on supply chain, right? Renewables need a new set of materials, and then assuring this material will be in place, that's another challenging, But we have also think about countries that have this kind of unique resources. Somehow God places these materials is more rare than like oil and gas, So the countries, there should be a new thought about what should be done with countries that are very unique. For example, like in African country, we have Congo, have a cobalt, How then we should address this situation, And also talking about global supply chain right now is very hot item, Speaking about energy security, many countries need new source of oil, new source of gas, and pushing energy transition renewables, at their full speed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yudo, and thank you for giving me, as a social science graduate, validation that we can also belong in the energy transition scheme. All right, so we have a bit more time. I would like to invite anyone here in the ballroom, participants joining us on site, to ask their question. I believe we have a representative from the Japanese government or a Japanese institution. Sir, would you like to ask a question? And also a representative from Western Australia, representing Western Australia. So please, I mean, if you have any questions, this is your chance. Thank you for saving the day, madam. This is your chance because we'll be wrapping up the Q&A session quite soon.
Right. So first of all, thank you so much, Pat. Thank you so much for the invitation for the government of Western Australia. So my name is Chandini, and I would like to follow up a little bit on Pak Prahoro's explanation earlier, perhaps. So you laid out the plans for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources to improve the quality of the officers by sending them to study overseas. So we're just wondering, is there any next steps or any plans to reintegrate these officers once they return from their study overseas? So more or less, that's actually my question. So thank you so much, Pak.
Thank you for your question, Pak Prahoro, please.
Thank you, Bu Chandini. I think this is a very good question that we'd like to emphasize one more thing in terms of the competency. So the one that we prepare right now, basically, we kind of have provide the potential officer that has a chance to go abroad. Basically, we provide with this too. If you can compete with others, basically other officers, and then you can get a chance, then you're going to the degree, for the master's degree or doctoral degree. But we like not only that part, we try to give them opportunity also for them post to get the degree, if they can continue to get the internship on job training, if they can get it also in that particular industry in that country. So basically, if we can get this kind of opportunity for them, basically on job training or internship, I think as I remember during that day, they allowed to go between 1 year or up to 3 years, the one that we have right now. So if we can grab this one, I think what we need, that one is going to be give the benefit for the ministry also. So when they're coming back, not only just showing us, okay, this is the papers, this is the certificate of master's and PhD degree, but they also have the competency to get the experience working with the industries, that they get the knowledge and also experience in the industry. So hoping by having these two, combine both the degree in the paper and also the experience with coming back to Pak Dadan office, let's say, it's going to be more beneficial to DG, Directorate General, to run the process because they are dealing with the real work, not only just paper. So that's the plan that we try to offer to them. So hopefully by having this one, it's going to be give the benefit for both sides. The personality of the officer and also give the benefit for the institution. Right. Thank you, Janini.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much once again for participating in the Q&A. Do you have any questions, sir? Can I get the microphone over here? Over here, please.
Thank you for the presentation. So I'm Hiroshi Namase Nishimoto from Dali, Kutasan, Japan. And so very good presentation for us. And so today, several universities joined this webinar from Japan. And we would like to offer a lot of program from universities, especially geothermal and energy management. We are very good at this. And I have one comment for your presentation. Increased competency of government officials. It's very important to make a realistic roadmap for long term, because looking back the history in Japan, so there was a big earthquake at 2011, and after that, the technology of nuclear power is very difficult to improve. So this is my comment. So to make a realistic roadmap is so important for increased competency for government officials in the long term. So this is my comment for your year. So thank you for today's great session.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, we have had a long-standing education cooperation with Japan. one of the graduates sitting here, right next to me, a product of a Japanese university. So I believe this means that there are fruitful endeavors that we can that we can strive towards to deepen that collaboration, especially for the very milestone in 2030 that we need to be reaching in Indonesia for the energy sector. Now, okay, that is all that we have time for. Of course, we can go on for days and nights, but sadly, we have to conclude this Q&A session. Thank you to all of the distinguished speakers joining us today. A round of applause, please. Thank you to all of the participants joining on site and also virtually via WebEx and Zoom. Another round of applause, please. And of course, it was a delight to be hosting this session and to be hosting this lively and enriching discussion. Okay, please join me once again in giving a round of applause to all of us, and hopefully this wonderful initiative can, indeed move things, really fast. What did Pak Yudo said in the beginning? Step on the gas pedal, yeah? We need to get this car moving really fast. All right, Gaspol. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, you may return to your seats now, and I will hand the stage and the event back to Dian Rosa, our lovely MC.
Thank you so much to all our distinguished speakers and panelists for today, and to all participants for the lively discussion. Next, we will be presenting a token of sincere appreciation from the host to the speakers and representatives from our invitees. Firstly, may I kindly call on Pak Yudo Priyadi and Pak Dadan Kustiana to once again come forward to receive your token of appreciation. And may I invite Pak Prahoro Nur Cahyo to present the token of appreciation to our distinguished speakers. Thank you very much, and may we request the photographers to take the photo together. Thank you. Thank you very much again, Pak Yudo, Pak Dadan, and for Pak Prahoro, may I ask you to remain here to present the token of appreciation to the next recipients. Next, may I kindly request Mr. Ego Shahrial, the Secretary General of Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, who will be represented by Pak Muhammad Rizwi Jilanif Hisham, Head of Human Resources Bureau, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. Pak Muhammad Rizwi, please come forward. Thank you. Pak Prahoro, please hand the token of appreciation. Thank you very much. And could we have a photo together? Could the photographers please also take the photo? Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Next, I would like to call forward the General Manager of the East Nusa Tenggara Head Unit of State-Owned Electricity Company, PLN, and the General Manager, Mr. Wahyu Jatmika, and the General Manager of iConnect, represented by the Director of Business Enterprises, concurrently Director of Business Services, Mrs. Julita Indah. Please come forward. And again, Pak Prahoro will be presenting the token of appreciation. Thank you very much. And the photographers. Thank you, Bapak Wahyu Jatmika and Ibu Julita Indah. And now, may I ask representatives from embassies in person here to come forward. Firstly, Mr. Hiroshi Nishimoto from the Japan Embassy, Mr. Alex Barton, the British Embassy, Jakarta, and Mr. Sandi Yudhistira from the Government of Western Australia. May you all come forward to receive a token of appreciation from our host, Pak Prahoro. Okay, from the representative from the British Embassy, Jakarta. And sorry, Miss Naluri from the New Zealand Embassy to come forward, sorry. Thank you very much. A big round of applause, everybody, for our embassy representatives. One more. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You may return to your seats. Pak Prahoro, please remain seated at the front. Please remain at the front, and we would kindly request you to deliver your closing remarks.
Well, Pak Dadan, Pak Yudo, Bapak, Ibu-Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing else that we can say. That again, as I said earlier, this meeting is just a meeting of gathering together if there is no action after this one. So basically what we want to get is very nice discussion, very fruitful discussion. Hopefully the token that we like to give you before this event is ending is, now you have a better understanding where the ministry want to go. There is a roadmap that the ministry want to go. And then you do also know what is the capacity about the human capital that we have right now as of today, and the scale that we have right now. And then hopefully by combining these two, the directions and what we are, we can fill in the gap, especially for enhancing human capital. Thank you so much for having us, the one that we have here, and this is very important for us to get everything together, and hopefully we will have the good and real action after this meeting. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Pak Prahoro. Please return to your seat. Yeah. Thank you once again, Pak Prahoro, for the closing remarks. And on behalf of the Human Resources Development Agency of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to all our distinguished speakers for today and for all our active guests for your participation and making this event a success. Thank you also to all participants who have joined us via WebEx and Zoom. Thank you once again. Have a pleasant day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.